Do you love embossing with your heat tool or get frustrated because you end up with speckles all over your cardstock? Or you end up with stamped areas that are missing embossing pattern? Join me today as I teach you my tips for the perfect embossing with your heat tool. So stay tuned. Embossing with your heat tool can be lots of fun, but it can also become frustrating. One of the major issues we run into when embossing with the heat tool is that we don't end up with clean images. We end up with speckles all over the side of the area, or we end up with areas with no embossing powder because we flip our piece over and try to remove the excess embossing powder, and what we end up doing is removing the embossing powder here. Well, today I'm going to teach you my trick to ensure that not only do you have a speckle-free embossed area, but also that your entire image is completely embossed. Now, to begin this process, there are some basic tools we're going to need. We're going to need our heat tool, we're going to need our embossing buddy, a small paintbrush, and a clothespin. Technique that I'm going to teach you works on both cardstock and Add a Little Dazzle craft metal sheet. I'm going to take a piece of Add a Little Dazzle craft metal sheet. This is lovely lavender. And I'm going to take my embossing buddy and I'm going to go over it and just pat it on. And this is prepping my surface so that the speckles don't stick up. Then I'm going to take Guardian Dahlia and I'm going to ink it with Early Espresso Classic ink. Right there. And there it is stamped. Now, I'm going to take a piece of paper that I folded in half and I'm going to put it right underneath, and I'm going to pour my embossing powder over it to completely cover my image. Now, you may need to spread it out to make sure that the entire area is covered. Remove the excess. So now take your paper, fold it in half, and pour your embossing powder back into its container. Now, here's my image, and I don't have a lot of areas with speckles, but I do have some. So I'm going to begin by taking a small paintbrush. You want it to have a very fine area because you don't want it to take off too much. And you're going to go in and just carefully break it up and then lightly tap until you make sure that all areas are clean. This one is actually pretty clean, but sometimes they, even with embossing buddy, they don't come out completely clean, but this one did good. So like I said, just if you see any areas, just go over it with your paintbrush and clean it. Now, in working with metal, and this is my tip also for cardstock, take the clothespin and place it right there to hold it in place. This will ensure that you don't burn yourself. This is important with cardstock, but it is extremely important with Add a Little Dazzle craft metal sheets. Now we're going to heat set this, but we're not going to go over the image, because if we go over the image, the hot air will blow some of the speckles away, and we don't want that. So I'm going to get it going for a few seconds to heat it up, and then I'm going to place it underneath here. And I'm going to start heat setting it from the bottom. I'm letting it cool off for a minute here. I still have that clothespin on the side. But if you look at it, there are absolutely no speckles and none of the embossing powder is removed. The reason for that is because instead of me placing the heat tool over the image, I placed it underneath the image, so there was no air blowing the embossing powder off, and everything is in place. As you can see, embossing with a heat tool can be stress-free. Just follow my tips and you will be able to create beautiful, crisp images in a matter of minutes. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel as I release videos on a weekly basis, and you will be the first to be notified when a new video comes out. I also have a library full of videos with inspiration and tips to teach you how to take your crafting to the next level. I also invite you to check us out on Facebook and visit our blog at www.addalittledazzle.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at monica@addalittledazzle.com. Thanks and have a dazzling day.